Man, how do I make this less of a headache to run? How do I get out there and really make this an asset that serves me rather than something that I'm serving a job that I have? Number one way you can automate your storage facility, don't take physical payments. I do not accept cash. I do not accept check. I do not accept any other physical payment. I only accept electronic payment. The only thing really that I'll tell customers that I don't accept is cash. Somebody tells me they want to pay me by check, I'll say, well, we accept checks, but we only accept e-checks. Accepting an e-check is the same thing as using a check, except there's no physical payments. Why is this important not to use physical payments? Well, because you always have to be picking up money, taking money to the bank. On my first storage facility, I would spend an hour or 2 hours a week at the bank picking up money, going over there, waiting on the teller, depositing the money, getting the receipt, those kind of things, when that really didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to do. Why would I spend that time when all I could do is tell my customers, hey, we only accept electronic payments here. That's debit cards, credit cards, e-checks, and ACH transfers. And the side benefit of that is you never have to worry about theft of any kind if you don't have physical payments. If you're buying a facility that has a bunch of people in there paying cash and checks already, you're just gonna have to wean them out. You're gonna have to start telling them their new policy, and eventually people are going to give you cash and checks. You may accept it one time, notify them, say, hey, we got your check, we got your cash, but at the end of the day, we will not accept that as future payments. Even if you mail us cash, it won't count towards your rent payment anymore. We will not accept that physical payment at all. All right, guys, here's tip number 2. It's called use DaVinci Locks. I'm actually in my backyard at my shed. Here's a DaVinci lock. I happen to have some spare ones when I needed a lock for this. And I want to show you what this is actually. It is a lock that has a unique serial code on the bottom of it. And this serial code it gives you the ability to actually look up what the right code is for this. So here's how this works, okay? Is whenever a customer doesn't pay you, one of the biggest problems, most time-consuming things in the self-storage world is going out and putting on what we call as a red overlock. A red overlock means that the customer hasn't paid you and you want to keep them out of their unit. This is generally done on the 7th of the month. Well, imagine you've got a 400 unit facility and 10% of your customers don't pay, which would be really high. But so you got to go out and you got to put 40 locks on. If you've got a traditional lock, then you've got to go out there, you got to get the key, put the key in, and when a customer pays you, then you have to go out there with the key and you have to unlock it. Imagine doing that for 40 customers. It can be really time consuming, waiting on somebody to pay you, and then every time they pay you, it's just one customer at a time. You got to go out there yourself, unlock it, because people only pay you when they want to access their units, right? Yes, people don't just pay you randomly without knowing there's an overlock on there. So you have to do this process. So how do we make this process simpler? Use DaVinci Locks. All you do is you put this on there, you put it over their lock, and then spin it, and they're locked out. Now guess what? The DaVinci Locks, when they pay, they can go get the code themselves, and they don't actually need you to come unlock it. As soon as they pay, it'll say, hey, here's the code to remove your overlock, and it's a fully automated process. So now you can encourage customers to pay, but you don't have to worry about going out there and unlocking the red locks every single time. So tip number 2, use DaVinci Locks. They're a game changer. I see so many people not willing to pay the $150 to $250 a month for a great property management software, something like SiteLink, something like StoreEdge. There's some other good ones out there, but those are the ones that I've used that can just simplify your entire business and your interactions with your customers. When you're using a great property management software, tenants can do things like pay their rent, move into a unit, check on the status. They can do all kinds of things, and they can get communicated with to remind them that, hey, your bill's due. Keeping up with who's in what unit, keeping up with who's paid, who hasn't paid, how much income are we getting in, should we raise rates. It'll have a place for work orders on your property. If anything needs to be fixed, you can keep track of it, submit it in there. Store all of your tenant documents like their leases, driver's license, whatever it is you require if they're storing vehicles, their registration, their insurance. So if you want to go buy a self-storage facility and automate it, you can't be cheap and say, well, I'm just gonna run all this out of an Excel spreadsheet, or I'm just gonna write all this on note cards or a whiteboard or whatever. It won't work for you in the long run. It's gonna be more headache than it's worth. It's always worth paying for that property management software. It's one of the easiest ways to automate your self-storage business. Number 4 way to have an automated self-storage business is to use a gate system, right? When you pull up to the gate, you have to punch in your code and you have to use that to get into the property. Number 1 is always have it fenced and always have one of those gates with the keypads. That's called access control. OpenTech Alliance is the one that I've used. It's cloud-based. There are a lot of these different things out there. They all kind of have their own unique quirks, so I'm not necessarily going to recommend any of them. If you can have access control that integrates, it plugs in and merges with number 3, your property management software, it's going to be phenomenal for you. The number 1 thing it's going to do is if tenants haven't paid you or for whatever reason, you can automatically, you don't have to do anything, the system will automatically, when they pull up to punch in their gate code and go to their unit, automatically say, hey, there's a problem on your account. And even certain apps, you can do it. It'll pop up a notification on their phone, Bluetooth, and tell them what the problem is and have them solve that automatically. The other thing is if they haven't paid their rent, guess what it'll do? It'll say, hey, you can't access your facility because your account is delinquent. To resolve your delinquent account now, go to blah, blah, blah. And it'll pop it up on that, the keypad screen, if there's a screen on the keypad, or if there's another problem, it just won't let them in. And so then, you know, you can have them call into your phone number, in which case you can have an automated message or something like that. But at the end of the day, having one of those gates is one of the easiest ways to automate your storage facility, because we could just automate our storage facility in the way of, you know, we're not going to monitor who comes, who goes, but at the end of the day, you're not incentivizing people to pay, you're incentivizing people to break in or make it feel like it's an unsecure location, and that's just not going to be the best thing for your business. And the 5th and final way of my recommendation that you can automate your storage facility is to make sure your customers, new customers, can rent a unit online. Imagine this, you're trying to grow a business, you need to make sales, you need to get new customers. Tenants are going to move out, you need to rent new units. What if every time you wanted to get a new customer, you had to speak with somebody? That means that if you're trying to automate it and you don't have a salesperson or a manager, then every time you ever want to grow your business, if you're out on the lake this weekend with your friends, if you're skiing with your family, if you're doing something else to grow your business, then you have to stop what you're doing, pick up the phone just to maintain and grow this other business. That's not a great system. By the way, most people don't want to talk to somebody when they want to do something as simple as rent a storage unit. Some people will, so you want to make sure you always have that option available that they can contact a human, but you want to have a website that allows the customer to rent a unit online. It's even particularly more easy when you have step number 3, the property management software, where they can do everything, provide their driver's license, pay you, do all that good jazz through the website. You could set up a custom one where customers can rent a unit, reserve a space, see what's available, make a payment. You could do that yourself custom, or you can get one of these front-end websites where customers can do that themselves. But it's critical that customers are able to rent a unit without talking to you, because you would be absolutely stunned with how many people rent storage units at 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And guess what? Those people aren't going to call you at that time. Maybe they will, and you don't want your phone to ring at that time, but you don't want to miss out on that business, because if you go look at the big boys, if you go look at CubeSmart, if you go look at Life Storage, if you go look at Extra Space, if you go look at iStorage, any of the big companies out there, they all have the ability to rent a unit online. And if they don't have the ability to rent a unit online, that pretty much tells you they don't have anything available for rent, right? So if you got anything available for rent, you want to make sure people can rent it online. Now, those are my 5 steps that if you own a storage facility, or you want to get into owning storage facilities, and you want to run the unmanned, or you want to run the automated playbook, those are my tips on how to do it. If you got questions on any of them, let me know below. Super happy to help out in the comments. And with that being said, have a great day. Go make some automated money in self-storage.